out my fondant. This is fondant, nothing is mixed with it. Here is my mold. This is a First Impressions mold, which is really good quality. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift this and put it on top of my mold. Put that on. Now the next stage is to just rub. Give it a really good pressing down so that it is taking the imprint of the lace. So I just basically am going to give that a really good press all around the sides. Make sure you've got all that bottom, see the bottom is there scalloped like that. Some parts, obviously, I haven't rolled my fondant out the same thickness because I'm not very good at doing it. I'm a bit lazy. So some bits are thinner, and you can tell that part's not as pressed down, but it is probably fine. It's just that it's a thicker bit of fondant. So next part, I am going to get my knife and just start scraping off the excess. I like using a really thick knife, because I just find that it's easier to sort of slice across rather than using a small one. So what I just do, and look, there may be a better way, this is just the way I do it, is just slice off sort of the ends that are easy to tell. And then it's simply a matter, I just sort of aim for the top part and then do the bottom part separately. And you just basically, you obviously don't want to slice your mould, but you just want to remove the parts that aren't part of the design. Gently slicing off the top. So, I've just taken this out of the freezer. Now you just want to be really careful when you are getting out of the mould. See, I really bend it back like that. Even just sort of really gently hold it down. You don't want it to rip at this point. Excellent. Okay, happy with that. Okay, so now it is a matter of just tidying it up. So I'm going to start with this side. Just basically cut out what I can and move it away. And then what I do is I've got this tool. So actually I was given this, it's like a little rubbery tool. You can use whatever you have. I mean, I've got a range of stuff that I'm sort of using. This here is just, it's got a flat one, so it kind of cuts it away. So I just sort of come in here, cut away what I can cut away and scrape it out. And then getting this, I just sort of move it around so that it can just help get a nice, tidy it up and get that nice scalloped edge to it. So see how already that's just looking a lot nicer. So just go along. If it needs a little bit out, then I'll just sort of scrape away like that. You can see it's just starting to look really nice. So I'm just going to go through and do that. So you can see how much better that looks. It now really looks like a nice piece of lace. Can you sort of the light? There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so now the next step is just to stick it on. So let me get my cake. I'll show you what my cake is looking like so far. Okay, so look how big my cake is. It's 5 tiers. Anyway, you can see where I've stuck on the lace, and I just have to do this bottom tier. I literally am just going to wet the side and stick it on. So, time to, I don't know if I can do this upside down, but I'll give it a go. Now, I'm just going to lightly wet my cake. And then it is, you just need to really gently lift it up. And then very gently stick it on. Too easy. So make sure it's, I'm so scared I'm gonna knock part of it off. Excellent. Cool. How good's that? So you can see here where my lace ends. So now I'm just literally going to do the same thing, roll more out and just join it up until my full cake is covered in lace. So I've just rolled out quite thinly my circles. I've just got 4, you want 4 that are in a row in your circle container. And then what I'm going to do, first step, this is just a foam block. Get them from Spotlight or a craft shop. And I'm using a large ball tool. I'm just going to thin out the edges. So first step is to thin out the edges. And then second step, which I do show in another tutorial, is you simply roll around it like that. And that gives you the ruffle. So 2 fingers. So I'm just going to continue doing that for the rest.
So this is called a flower forming cup. See how it's got the circular sphere shape. I just got these on eBay. I think I got a set of 4. I buy a lot on eBay. It's a lot cheaper. And it just means that when you dry things, it's going to dry curved. So even things like if you were making a fondant head and you wanted to keep that nice oval shape, you would dry it in here, because obviously if you dry something flat, it's going to have a flat edge. So what we're going to do is we get the biggest one, and we put it, actually sorry, I'll do it here. We just start sticking them all on together. So a bit of water, stick the next one, a bit more water, stick the next one, bit more water, stick the final one. And then what I'm going to do is, I bought this. I bought this from First Impression mold. Now it's a bit more expensive than normal. There are other ones floating around, and it's quite expensive for shipping, but these molds are fantastic and they're really worth the extra money. So this one has just got a whole heap of different flower centers, and it is so useful. I mean, I'm always making flowers. Basically what you do is you just get a little bit of your fondant and work out sort of how big a center you want to have, and simply a matter of rolling it into a ball, pressing it down, and then there you go. Can you see it's got the texture on it? So I'll put a little bit of water. Actually, before I put that on, I will grab my flowers. Now, you could just leave this to dry like that. It's still, sorry, I know the light's really bad. It's still a really beautiful flower. But what I like to do is I put it in this flower forming cup, and then I'm grabbing my modeling tool. This is quite a large ball, and I just sort of squash it down a little bit. So squash it down. If you think it's squashed a bit too much, you can then sort of let it go in a bit of a bigger one. Depends whether you want it really squashed down. Here's one that I did make for the wedding that I didn't use because I didn't like the colour. That squashed down a lot. The bigger the flower you use, so the bigger the circles that you're cutting from, the less it's going to sort of spread in. So it's up to you to decide, but it's good to just sort of poke it down, and then you get a bit of water, put it in the center, and then stick in your flower center. And then you just leave it to dry. Sorry, it's really funny with it. I'm right in front of a window. So, there we go. So, I can leave it to dry like that if you want it really close together, or you can put it in a bit of a a wider one like that. Now, the other important thing to do, the good thing about these is there is a little dot, a little circle, a gap in here. So what I like to do with all of my flowers is I like to make a little hole so that, before it dries, so you just basically, I'm just poking up through that center of the flower. And then that's done so that it dries with a little hole, so that when I attach it onto my cake, I can use it. Once it hardens, I can get my toothpick and I can just jam it in.
Now it's just a matter of sticking my flowers on. I've just sort of started lining them up. This is going to be the one on the, I'm just covering that seam. Put my big white one on the bottom. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet this side with water as much as I can. And then I'm going to get my toothpick, and it's just a matter, actually I might put the toothpick in to my cake, into the spot that I want. Make sure it's in enough. There we go. So it's just got a tiny little, about 1 centimetre. And then okay, so you just sort of hold it on. Love that flower. You can actually just see that toothpick out the end, but I don't think anyone else will see it, so that's all right. Okay, so I'm just going to do the next ones.